So Atlanta is a hospitality town. So when you look at what is the source of the economy here, it's very much transportation. The convention and hospitality industry then feeds off of that. And you always have to remember that that's, because you always have to pay the bills for when you're in politics, you always have to be able to pay the bills, you have to be able to have a tax base for your city. So when Ronald Reagan came in, my dad, who had been a UN ambassador, really didn't want to run for mayor because he said, Reagan is going to take all the money away from the cities. And that's what happened, that instead of sending money directly to cities, the money started going to the states. And that was block grants, both for urban development, it was the social services, all of these things were block granted. And so a lot of the tools that Maynard had to work with no longer were available. The other thing is they started with the Supreme Court appointments, started eroding the argument for affirmative action and the ability to do the kind of very intentional joint venture programs that had been successful under Maynard. So my dad's approach then was when you're in the neoliberal state, you have to have a neoliberal strategy. And so it was the public-private partnerships. And Atlanta had been doing that. We had done many things with bond financing, but that really became the strategy, is to attract international investment, to build hotels, to use bond financing for projects like Underground Atlanta, the revitalization of Underground, the expansion of the airport, and then using the ability of Atlanta to be this hospitality city, to bring the National Democratic Convention and begin to pave the way for bringing the Olympic Games and showing that Atlanta was a city that could host a major international event. And one of the things he said when he came in is that in Atlanta, hospitality is to Atlanta what cars are to Detroit. This is what we do, right? This is our business. And he likes to tell the story of the doorman at the Peachtree Plaza who wouldn't take his tips because he said, I make more than you do, right, as mayor. And to understand that, how many of you all are able to finance your education working in the hospitality industry, right? You can, and so there's a tremendous opportunity when you look at hospitality as an industry. The other thing he started to do was to say, how do we fill the hotels on the weekend? And so that's why you see so many Black family reunions in town, especially in the summer. Because we made a particular opening to family reunions. So those were some of the strategies to say, there's no more money coming from Washington. And so you have to figure out other ways to finance the things that you're trying to accomplish for the city. And so that's the public-private partnerships. One of the stories that, we tell it, two things we started in the 80s. My mother started the Dream Jamboree, which brought folks to Atlanta to offer scholarships to our high school students. And I think they increased that to about $30 million. The kind of scholarship awards that Atlanta public school students were getting, and also introduce students to the new kinds of job opportunities that were coming online in the economy. And so those were, and then the other thing was the development of Lakewood, trying to use development as a way to involve people from the community in the development, having joint venture concessions on the parking concessions, having joint venture concessions on the food concessions, so that people in the the people in the neighborhood benefited from the development. So those were some of the strategies that were tried, and then we'll talk about the Olympics in a minute.